Sir, excuse me, sir. I'm sorry I have to wake you. You a doctor?
That's right.
There's a doctor in Chicago, well, he's actually a surgical resident at the University of Chicago, who says he's tired of watching people who look like him die from gun violence. What if they look like me? Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow here, the one and only truth pimp, dealing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis. Yeah, this doctor, again, a resident, he's not even a real doctor yet, but he's obviously kind of focused on his future. I mean, let's face it, he probably knows that he's too dumb to be a doctor. So he's like, what's that next step? Well, the anti-Second Amendment movement, especially in Chicago, is pretty lucrative. And I think he's got his sights set on that because he's helping local legislators write legislation that would disarm people, and in many cases, poor people. He came up with a plan. He's working with anti-gun politicians to make gun manufacturers pay for, quote, gun violence. He calls it the RIFL Act, the RIFL, and the mainstream media is falling all over themselves trying to make this guy look like some kind of a hero. But before we let this doctor ride off into the sunset on his smooth little white horse, I have some questions for him and some numbers. Numbers that this doctor probably doesn't want you to see. Today, we're going to take a little trip into the operating room since he wants to come into our territory. Let's go into his. First, guys, I have a new code over at CMMG that I want to make sure you guys are aware of. It's FTATF 10. Used to be FTATF. Now it's FTATF 10. And during this switch over from one to the other, we're actually offering a one-time 15% discount. So for next couple of weeks, if you use my new code FTATF10, you're actually going to get 15% off. Now that will eventually go back to the normal 10%, but use FTATF10 now and you're going to get 15% off. I'd rush over there, snatch something up for an extra 5%, total of 15% off. So let's start with what this fake doctor's bill actually does, because the media is not going to tell you about that. The RIFL Act, which is House Bill 3320, would require every firearm manufacturer to obtain a license from the state of Illinois to sell guns in the state. Oh, that sounds reasonable, right? That's how they're pitching it. That's not what it does. This is the catch. The licensing fee isn't a flat fee. It's not a couple of $100 like your FFL. The total fees in year one are capped at $866 million just for the state of Illinois. $866 million from gun manufacturers in 1 year in one state. Now, how do you think these people came up with that number? How are they going to attribute what somebody owes based on which company it is? They're wanting to do this based on how many of a company's guns are recovered at crime scenes. So let me get this straight. Someone commits a crime with a stolen Smith & Wesson, and Smith & Wesson gets the bill. Someone commits a crime with a sweet CMMG Banshee, and CMMG gets the bill because their gun was stolen and used by a criminal to commit another crime? Folks, that's like suing Ford every time a drunk driver kills somebody, or suing Budweiser every time there's a bar fight. And that's exactly the kind of lawsuit that Congress banned 20 or so years ago when they passed the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Arms Act, because holding manufacturers liable for criminal misuse of their own legal products is stupid. So what does Dr. Douglas do? He doesn't try to win in court. He knows that he can't. He literally said, and I'm quoting here, "This is designed to avoid PLCAA." He's not hiding it. He built a workaround to federal law using a licensing fee instead of a lawsuit. Same outcome, but it's going to be wrapped differently. The NRA called this what it is, a dangerous proposal that could effectively shut down firearm manufacturing in the state of Illinois. Second Amendment Foundation called it nothing more than a massive revenue generator to feed the state coffers at the expense of everyone in the firearms industry. And I believe that one. Do you honestly think that money, if the state collects the money, are they really going to hand that money off to somebody in an operating room to offset hospital? It's what's going to happen is it's a slush fund. Yeah, the hospitals will get paid off, but all the welfare and crap that's paying for it now is going to continue to do that. That's not going to dry up and go away just because the state now has a new, shiny new $866 million. But here's where it gets really good. Dr. Douglas went to Springfield. testified before the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. Yes, there is such a thing. He said something that should end the debate on what this bill really is about. This man, fake doctor, said, and this is a direct quote from him, "I think poor people don't benefit from owning firearms." Let that simmer for a second. This dude is shaming poor people for wanting guns to protect themselves. Who would you think probably needs guns more than anybody in a neighborhood? A person with a lot of money because they live in a nicer neighborhood, or a person with very little money because they live in a crappy neighborhood? I mean, I'm going to give you one guess at that one. You got a man pushing an $866 million tax on gun manufacturers, a tax that will be absolutely passed down to the consumers, no doubt about that. And he just told you that poor people are better off unarmed. Immediately, a state representative fired back, and God bless him for doing it. He said, "It's really not our place to say, well, we think you're better off not having this thing." And that's right, because here's what Dr. Douglas is actually saying. Rich people, they can keep their guns and they're going to buy more. Price goes up a little bit, they take it. In fact, in some cases, they might work a little bit harder to pay that difference in price. Poor people, and a lot of people who are poor, choose to be poor. I mean, let's be honest. Government cheese looks good when you can sit on your fat ass all day long. So some of them choose to be poor. But that doesn't matter, because that single mom in Inglewood, that night shift worker in Roseland walking to his car at 2 a.m., the elderly woman on the south side who lives alone, priced out of the gun industry, disarmed and defenseless. Now, a quick side note on that, you know what's going to happen. The price of guns goes up where people who are at least partially decent people and don't want to steal their firearm now because they can't afford it, somebody's going to get a subsidy for that. The government's going to pay for that gun somehow. They may make it some kind of a little voucher system or something, but trust me when I tell you, you ain't taking welfare away from anybody in the hood. And according to this fake Dr. Douglas, that's a feature, guys, not a bug in this system. The Second Amendment does not have an income requirement. It doesn't say the right of the people, except you poor people. It doesn't say the right of wealthy people to keep and bear arms. It says the people, like literally all of them. This fake Dr. Douglas says gun violence is a public health crisis. Okay, let's talk public health. If we're going to hold an entire industry financially liable for deaths caused by criminal misuse of their legal products, then we need to be honest about these numbers. In 2024, the most recent year with complete CDC data, 11,770 people were murdered with a firearm in the entire United States. And that's terrible, every one of them. But they were murdered. Like somebody committed a crime with the gun. Murder's illegal. And to be fair, I'm going to throw in accidental gun deaths also. That's about 485 nationwide per year. So we're talking about 12,200 deaths, gun homicides and accidents combined, across the entire country. Now, here's the number that fake Dr. Douglas does not want in his PowerPoint slides. According to a landmark study out of Johns Hopkins University, fake Dr. Douglas's peer institution, by the way, medical errors kill between 250,000 and 440,000 Americans every single year. Let me say that again. 250,000 to 440,000 people dead because of mistakes made by doctors, nurses, and hospitals. That makes medical malpractice the third leading cause of death in the United States behind heart disease and cancer. And gun homicides are not even in the top 10. Medical errors kill 20 to 35 times more Americans than gun homicides do every single year. 20 to 30 times. And where does fake Dr. Douglas work? The University of Chicago Medical Trauma Center, a hospital city in a state that ranks fourth in the nation for medical malpractice payouts. Illinois fake Dr. Douglas's home turf sees an estimated 9,500 to 16,000 malpractice deaths per year. Chicago alone, conservatively, 2,000 to 3,500 people die from medical errors every year in this one city. Compare that to Chicago's gun homicides, roughly 500 to 600 per year. Medical malpractice kills 4 to 6 times more Chicagoans than gun violence does every single year. So here's my question to fake Dr. Douglas. You want gun manufacturers to pay for homicides when a firearm is misused by a criminal every year? Okay, then you got to answer me this, son. Where's the RIFL Act for hospitals? Where's the $866 million annual licensing fee for University of Chicago medicine based on the patients they kill every year? Where's the fund for malpractice victims? Because here's what's wild. Gun manufacturers already have less legal protection than you think. They can be sued for defective products. They can be sued for negligent entrustment. The PLCAA has exceptions, but the medical industry, they have way bigger protections built in. They've built a nearly impenetrable wall of legal protection that makes the gun industry look exposed. Less than 1% of medical errors ever result in a malpractice claim. Only about 17,000 malpractice lawsuits are filed nationally every year against an industry killing up to 440,000 people every year. Only 1 in 80 wrongful death malpractice cases result in any payout at all. The medical industry kills way more people than guns every single year, but they pay out way less. But the audacity of a physician standing up in the Illinois State House and demanding that a legal industry be taxed into oblivion for deaths caused by criminals, while his own industry kills 20 to 35 times more people annually through negligence? Folks, that's breathtaking to me, and talk about hypocrisy in the greatest sense. But let's be honest about what the rifle bill is. It has nothing to do with public safety. It's about disarmament, folks. It's designed by an ideologue dressed up in medical language, specifically engineered to do an end around federal law and price guns out of the hands of working class and poorer Americans. Fake Dr. Douglas told you that himself. Poor people don't benefit from guns. That's his worldview. That's the engine driving this legislation. And the media, CBS Chicago, ABC 7, every single one of them, they're running this guy's press releases as news coverage, never once asking the hard questions that we're talking about here. Nobody asked this dude about malpractice deaths in his own hospital. They didn't ask him who funds his little anti-gun advocacy program, why he's mouthing off when he's a doctor. Nobody asked him why the Second Amendment should have an income requirement that he's suggesting. Nobody even asked him why a legal industry should pay for the crimes of actual criminals. But I'm asking, and I know most of you are too, if this bill passes in Illinois, and don't think for a second that it's not going to, it will become the template. Look, California's watching, New York is watching, every anti-gun state house in America is watching to see if this workaround survives a legal challenge. I say this all the time. A lot of this crap that sounds crazy and stupid, it starts at the state level, sometimes local level in the city. They throw it against the wall and it doesn't stick. But they get you used to hearing it. Like the first time you hear it, you think, that sounds stupid. Next time you hear it, that sounds kind of stupid. Third time you hear it, you're like, okay. And then the next time you're like, let's vote for it. I don't mean us, obviously. I mean the average idiot out there. So they desensitize you to these stupid ideas to where eventually it becomes the next good idea. So while this in Illinois could pass, the other states are looking at it like, cool, tossing it out there. At some point, people are going to get okay with this kind of stupidity. Folks, this is not what the founders wrote in the Constitution, and it's not something that we're going to sit down and accept quietly. Fake Dr. Death needs to clean up his own house before he comes for ours, because his is an absolute mess. They're killing people in record numbers from their stupidity. The numbers do not lie, and I gave you the numbers. And one final thing that bothered me about this guy. You do realize that there's not just black people that live in Chicago, right? And even though the numbers are overwhelming, you do realize it's not just black people who get shot in Chicago, right? Where this doctor works. What an odd thing for him to say. That he's bothered when people come through the emergency room who have been shot who look like him. What if those people look like me? I mean, does this mean that he's not bothered by people who look like me who go into the same hospital? Are white patients going to take a back seat to the patients that look like him instead? Again, what an odd thing for a doctor to say. I mean, this dog whistle racism that these people have, I don't understand it. Like they get away with. What if I sat here and told you, as a doctor, I'm tired of white people coming through the emergency room getting shot all the time? Everybody, including white people, would be outraged at that. I chose a select group of people to be outraged about. Oh, these group of people upset me when they get shot. Not that group of people. Again, what an odd thing to say for a doctor. Folks, let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Am I right about this or am I wrong? If you think I'm wrong, tell me why you think I'm wrong. Please make sure you are subscribed to Legally Armed America. Again, like the video, share it if you don't mind, and comment down below. Book to educate yourself and to educate the idiots out there who can't think for themselves regarding mass shootings. Go to damnliars.net. Again, damnliars.net, and get my brand new book, Damn Liars.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
It's hanging around.